You keep on shouting, you keep on shouting. What the fuck? White powder? This fucking thing on. Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again time for the power rankings. And guys, there has been drama all over the place this week. I'm talking about getting called out, you know. Gabo McGregor, a guy who's always been forthcoming with his own opinion, expressing doubt in Cam's power rankings ability, saying that he shouldn't be doing the power rankings anymore. Right? Clearly, Gabo is playing a Mick Jagger style move, saying that he's not satisfied. Well, guess what? Get ready to be satisfied, guys, because I'm up in the level, right? Let's talk about Cam's power rankings, okay? They're okay, right? Cam's down here playing chutes and ladders, but guess what, guys? We're up in the game, and we're going up here and playing Monopoly, all right? Let's take a look at why this is, guys. Hello? In case you haven't already noticed, this video has been edited, okay? Obviously, the opening scene and this scene have not been filmed together. Amazing, even though they come consecutively in the video. How amazing is this technology? Fucking nailed it, right? But here's the good news, guys. I don't think we've ever had a situation where someone has gotten in trouble for snorting mysterious white powder on camera. Miami Dolphins. Those coughs are only half fake. Turns out snorting things is actually kind of a shock to the system if you're not used to it. More good news. I just had my drug test today, so I'm probably not going to get another one, you know, just in case it actually was cocaine, you know. But I digress. Guys, that's not why we're here. We are here to evaluate these teams in this fantasy football league, and let's get fucking started, guys, with the Week 6 power rankings. All right, guys, let's get started here. And the number 12 team, well, as Tom Jones would say, it's not unusual. At number 12, Sean Bates and the Cleveland Browns. I feel like I sound like a broken record here. This is just something that keeps coming up. Sean has not been able to figure out his team, and this trend just continued this week. This week hasn't been as bad as previous weeks, but Sean, I gotta say that your team is a lot like this 25-pound plate here. It's not that powerful, and it's got a lot of holes. So, moving on to why this is, several big time picks for you in the draft were at the wide receiver position. You really went all in for your wide receivers. Julio Jones was one of your top draft picks. You traded him away. Alshon Jeffrey, another guy that you got in that trade. And then Brandon Cooks. I said that Julio Jones and Brandon Cooks was one of the top wide receiver duos, and that was going to be one of the reasons your team could have success this year. Well, one of them you traded away, and the other one fucking sucks. So there you go. You traded away Christian McCaffrey. You just don't have any pieces right now, Sean. It's as simple as that. You're very aptly named. Also, the fact that you have Duke Johnson Jr. makes sense, but Nate Solly and his team just took you out back and worked you over this week, moving you to 0-6, just like the real Browns. Gotta say, you nailed your team name, but that's pretty much where the positives end for your guys. All right, guys, coming in at number 11, same as last time and same as, you know, it seems like forever. I ain't got Smallwood. Brennan Costello. All right, this guy scoring the lowest number of points this week. Woo! This is just terrible. I mean, look at your team this week. Jonathan Stewart, 8 carries, -4 yards. I mean, we haven't seen a performance this pathetic since Kirsten Stewart in Twilight. In fact, if you would have started her, you would have gotten the same number of points as you did from Jonathan Stewart. So that's what I suggest you do next time. You're still going to get 0 points, but it'll be a lot more interesting for everyone else. All right? I don't know what to say. I mean, your team is so bad. Nothing seems to be changing. Breeze, who is your marquee guy, didn't really play that well as far as fantasy points go. And when that happens, you just don't really have anything else that can make up for it. Your running backs is just awful. You traded Mike Evans, who had a huge week this week, and what you got in return, one of the guys you got, C.J. Anderson, with fucking 1 point. I mean, and Jamal Charles, who you didn't even play. That is a trade that had everyone scratching their heads. What's going on, dude? Nobody knows. Really, really poor management skills overall, and I have to say that it's not anything that anyone didn't expect, and that's why you find yourself here second from the bottom. Alright guys, it's that time of the video again, coming in at number 10, Warheads on Foreheads, and talk about getting fucking screwed. My team scored the second most points this week, and lo and behold, I'm playing Gabo, who just fucking kicks my ass. Complete domination. Freaking lightning coming out from the sky just blew me to pieces. I got good points from a lot of my players. Kirk Cousins, the guy's back. Le'Veon Bell, everyone's been trying to get me to trade him away. And this is why I'm never going to trade him away, because he is such a fucking beast, ramming through the Chiefs' D like a fucking Viking. I mean, this guy just kills it. And then you got Ryan Suckup, beast kicker, kicking the ball through the hole. And then after all that, at the wide receiving position, you got Adam Thielen. Why do I like him so much? Because he shops at fucking Target. All right, this guy gets so many fucking targets every week. He's had double-digit targets in almost every game this season. The Vikings just keep trying to get this guy the ball. He gets big catches and big yards every game. A lot of good things, a lot of positives this week. Unfortunately, I had fucking shit to show for it, and I got screwed with another loss. But don't worry, next week I am going to be back with a vengeance. I am thinking that 2-5 is very, very good as a possibility, especially since I'm playing Brennan's team without the influence of really his biggest weapon now, or at least one of them, DeAndre Hopkins, guys. So get ready. Storm's coming, and hopefully I can get myself out of this fucking 10th spot of the power rankings, spice things up a little bit. Alright guys, it's time for the number 9 team in our power rankings. John Lennon, number 9 dream, baby. Let's do it. And I don't think anyone's going to be surprised that Team Meyer, of the name Jared Meyer, is finding itself in this spot again. And Jared, unfortunately, you have continued to not budge on your team name, which, although it is a blight on this entire league and people are trying to kick you out for it, doesn't actually affect your team's performance. But you also seem to refuse to budge on playing Cam Newton instead of Matt Stafford. Are you fucking sucking Matt Stafford's dick? Is he sucking your dick? What is going on? I can't believe that you would cheat on Lucas with Matt Stafford. That doesn't make any sense, guys. There's only 2 possible explanations for this. One, you are in love with Matt Stafford and are cheating on him with Lucas. The other explanation, which I find far less likely but also possible, is that you hate Dan and Oikos 000, which is Cam Newton's favorite yogurt. At least it was until his sponsorship got dropped because he was being a fucking idiot in his interview. But side note, guys, this shit is actually really good. 15 grams of protein, 0 grams of fat, 0 added sugar, baby. Get some. Anyway, a couple other things about your team. Jags D didn't put up a fucking shitload of points this week, which you have continued to rely on, and this is just a textbook example of what happens when you don't get those big points. Devontae Freeman, outplayed by Tevin Coleman this week, you do the math. Basically, that equals a loss for you, and it wasn't just a loss. You only had 64 points. Really, really not good performance by you, Jared. And calls for your head are occurring. I personally, obviously, am not in favor of you getting kicked out, but you got to step your shit up, or else your team is going to get surpassed by mine. I predict this will happen very soon. Fingers crossed, baby. Guys, now it's time to move on to number 8 in the power rankings, and it has been a wild couple of weeks for this guy. That's right, mind the O-gap, Austin Porter. All right, a 3-3 team that shows a lot of sides of not being 500 for long, and not in a good way. I'm talking about the downward direction, trending downward faster than Enron in the early 2000s, guys. What more do I need to say other than you lost this week because of a combination of some guys not doing very well and of your quarterback getting 0 points and Aaron Rodgers being lost for the season. This is a complete disaster. Absolutely horrible for you. And, you know, during a week when you had a lot of positives, Chris Thompson has been a very unexpected playmaker, good flex guy. Michael Crabtree has had a consistent year. Todd Gurley has been one of the top running backs, and all of that just seems to have gone to waste now that you've lost Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season. And not only does this affect Aaron Rodgers, this affects your number one receiver, Jordy Nelson, who is now going to be forced to try and catch passes from Brett Hundley. And let's face it, replacing Aaron Rodgers with Brett Hundley is like replacing Faith Hill's Sunday Night Football intro with this new Carrie Underwood bullshit. I would rather watch a graphic 3-minute video of a 75-year-old man getting a colonoscopy than watch Carrie Underwood and her stupid fucking dumbass intro plastered all over Sunday Night Football. All right? This is very bad, and it's only getting worse for you. I'm sorry, Austin. Your team is going down. Everything is collapsing around you, and it's only a matter of time before you find yourself with me, Sean, and Brendan in the cellar of this league. All right, guys, it's time for number 7 in the power rankings, and coming in here at this spot is another one of week 6's winners. That's right, rowing on the rivers, Brandon Niblock. All right, let's talk about this guy's season. Quarterback issues, that's been the main storyline, and, you know, he started off 3-0, has had a remarkable schedule of teams just completely underperforming against him. And that did continue this week, playing Austin Porter and getting extremely lucky once again. But this time he actually did put up a respectable number of points. Now let's take a look at why this was. Jordan Howard, number one reason. This guy, Cam sounded the panic button last week on him, and he responded with a 16-point effort, 160-some yards, OT ball game against the Ravens, putting up points, proving that he is firmly entrenched as one of the top running backs this season. And then DeMarco Murray finally having a big week that I think we expect him to have week in and week out as one of the league's supposedly elite backs. So you've had a quarterback carousel, as I mentioned earlier. Jacoby Brissett was a guy whose name you called this week. And honestly, most people would not look at his performance this week as something that was anything remarkable. But by your standards, as long as your quarterback isn't getting negative points, that's pretty much a win for you. So that proves to me that as long as you don't have these disastrous performances, your team has potential. In fact, through the first 5 weeks of the season, you have had in every single game someone who has either scored 0 or negative points in your lineup, which has got to be some kind of record. I mean, the only way to figure out if it's a record is if I did, meticulous research over years of league history, and I'm not fucking Elias Sports Bureau, so I'm not going to do that. Sorry about that. But it just proves that you have a chance. Now you're at number 7. If you keep having these weeks where you avoid these terrible performances, you have the potential to move back into that top 5 range where you're competing for a championship. A lot of the pieces are there. But the big thing, Julio Jones. what's going on with this guy? Nobody really knows. He's suffering at the hands of an Atlanta Falcons season that's not going very well. And he has been sort of the epitome of that, not getting any kind of big points at any point this season. Only 7 again this week. Until Julio becomes the elite player that he needs to be, your team, I don't think, is going to be able to advance to that top level. You need some help from this guy who you drafted, or you didn't draft, you drafted McCoy and then traded McCoy to get this guy. You're going to need big stuff from him, and until that happens, I don't really see you moving up in those rankings. All right, guys, talking about the middle of the pack here, and at number 6, someone who has managed through all these obstacles to stay in the top tier and stay in the running. That's right, our league newcomer, someone who is very mysterious to all of us, Pablo and Demest Zeke Violence. Now, I don't know how coincidental it is that you changed your team name to this Zeke-themed name the week he got suspended. But this is a major blow for your team. Your team without Ezekiel Elliott is like Raisin Bran without the raisin, okay? Nobody gives a shit. It's plain and boring, and, nobody cares and nobody wants this, so fuck. All right, let's talk about the positive, all right? You got to win this week. 77 points isn't blowing anyone's mind, okay? But the bigger thing here is that a third of those points came from one guy, Melvin Gordon, who is such a beast. But take away Melvin Gordon, and what do you really have? Matt Ryan is not showing signs of being the quarterback he was a year ago that was, MVP status. You look at some of these other guys, Sammy Watkins, just putrid. Your depth has been completely destroyed. So you can't really be blamed for this. OBJ and Ezekiel Elliott were 2 of your key players, and now they have gone down with injury or suspension. Just maybe it wasn't in the cards for you this year. This is just bad luck all the way around. It's just sometimes it's not in the cards, right? Like Romeo and Juliet, except for instead of the cards, it's, the fucking stars or whatever, destiny bullshit. I don't know. I barely read that shit anyway, so I don't fucking know. But as far as fantasy football goes, I do know I am the certified expert on this analysis, and my analysis of you is that your depth is gone and you can no longer, unless something big changes, compete for a championship. All right, guys, it is time to enter the top 5 of the power rankings, and these guys now are the teams that are really competing at this point for a championship. And coming in at number 5, one of our winners this week, yes, Jake Smith and Trump 2020. Now, whereas Trump's signs of getting elected seem to be lower than ever, your chances of winning a championship remain intact thanks to another win, a 5-1 record. Now, you made a stink in the last Power Rankings video about how you should have been ranked higher because you're a 5-1 team. But let's get a fact check here. It's 6 weeks into the season, and you've only had 418 points scored against. When I checked that ranking, it's second from the bottom. Only Brandon Niblock's historically low points against is more favorable than yours. The easy schedule has really been there for you, and I don't even think Atticus Finch is a good enough lawyer to argue that your roster is better than the teams ranked ahead of you. Now, that being said, your roster is pretty good. You have Deshaun Watson, one of the best quarterbacks. He's so consistent. He's been very good these last few weeks. You obviously had a clear plan in place to defeat Brennan Costello this week. It was a 2-step process. Step 1, put in Jerick McKinnon as your flex. And step 2, flex on the haters. All right? This plan worked to perfection as McKinnon scored 19 points. He's been very good the last couple of weeks. Very good waiver wire pickup by you. But I think the question everyone's really asking is, why do you keep playing Mike Gillislee? This guy is absolute garbage. The last 4 weeks, he hasn't gotten past the 5-point mark in any of those weeks. What are you doing? This is an embarrassment. You got to make a change here. You got LeGarrette Blount. He's been riding your pine a lot this season, and he's been outperforming Gillislee pretty much the whole way. I think you need to make a change here. I think you need to get Blount out of your real life and transfer that bluntage to your fantasy life and get LeGarrette Blount in there so you can start winning more ball games and actually put up the big-time points that make you believe that you should be ranked higher than a lot of these other guys. All right, guys, let's talk about the number 4 team in this week's power rankings. This was a close one. Big-time matchup this week, and one team was just a little bit better, and that one will be ranked number 3. But ranked number 4 in the same matchup, spoiler alert, it is Be Like Mike. Cam Lautenschlager, you are the number 4 team in this league, and this week was a little bit rough for you. You got a narrow loss against Chris in possibly the matchup of the week. 2 very good teams going at it, and you did not come out on top. Stefon Diggs' injury really hurts you. You're forced to play Martavis Bryant. This guy just can't do anything. The Steelers' passing offense, which is already struggling now, has been forced to pretty much exclusively go to Antonio Brown. I mean, Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell are the only ones that are getting real consistent targeting this year. Bryant has been left in the wings, trade rumors flying everywhere, and his 1 point this week, his 2 points this week, really crushed your team's hopes. And then Michael Thomas, the normal stud for the New Orleans Saints, absolutely could not be less effective. 1 point, 3 catches, 11 yards. That's not impressing anyone. Now, Kareem Hunt, despite his, pretty bad performance for most of that game, exploded at the end, got you to 10. Jay Ajayi, who has not gotten a touchdown this year yet, still, now it's week 6. This guy has been sort of a bust, but he got 13 points. A guy that's been getting a lot of yards this year and just not getting the fantasy points to show for it. You came up a bit short, and there are several reasons for that. Mariota didn't do so well. There is still a lot of hope for your team with Stefon Diggs. Maybe he's out against Baltimore, but he will come back eventually, and when he does, Minnesota's offense has done pretty well getting him the ball when he's been healthy. So Diggs could be a big addition to your team later down the line, but until he comes back, you're just not better than a lot of these upper-tier teams. Having to play a guy like Martavis Bryant is just really not going to help you have a strong ranking in these rankings. Moving on now, number 3 in the power rankings, and this is something I did not expect. I roasted this guy really hard last year when his team was terrible. I roasted him again at the beginning of this year, and he has responded to this criticism very well. At number 3, it is the At God's NFL Soldiers. Now, I can see, Chris, that you did not capitalize God yet. Still waiting on that. He's pretty angry now at this point. He thinks you're fucking with him. And I have a feeling if you don't change it, one of your big-time players is going to get injured. This team, it's not flashy, okay? You got 96 points, though, which is the second most in the league this week. You've been trending upward recently. I've liked the direction. Up until this point, you're a 4-2 team. Up until this point, your team has sort of been like the movie Reservoir Dogs. It's a good movie, but it doesn't really have any stars. Nobody knows who's in this movie, who's that guy, who's this guy. Well, guess what? You picked up Adrian Peterson. You didn't play him this week, but guess what? You found your Brad Pitt. You found your Matthew McConaughey. You've got a leading man now, a star on the screen that is going to potentially carry your team to that next level. Obviously, you need to find a replacement. Marshawn Lynch just really hasn't worked out this year, but if you just swap him out, Alvin Kamara is a guy that's getting featured more and more. McCaffrey, Jonathan Stewart's fuck-ups have been his reward. He has been getting more and more involved with Carolina's offense. You got him in a trade. That was smart. And Rams defense has been putting up points for you many of the weeks this season. taking advantage of some favorable matchups once again this week. That was the case with Jacksonville, a turnover-heavy Jacksonville team, as we all know. Got you some points this week. Chris, potential here for this team to compete for a championship, something I didn't think I'd be saying early in the year, but you proved me wrong, and I got to say, I give you big props for that. Number 3 here, this is probably one of those rankings that's going to get some controversy, but I have faith in this team with Adrian Peterson now. Who else in Arizona is going to get those touches? I think his arrival has really changed the dynamic of that team. I think the confidence level is going up. So, the passing game. You're a little Cardinal heavy is what I will say. If they have a bad matchup, you're going to be screwed. But other than that, I think you've got some depth now on this team. Again, not super flashy in most places, but very, very effective nonetheless. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to the number 2 guy in our power rankings and the number 1 guy in our all-time league points totals through week 6, the number 1 scorer in the league. We've got him, that's right, the big easy NFL, Gabo McGregor, guys. And first of all, I'd like to preface this by saying, fuck off. This was a real bitch move by you, going off against me. You could have just let me have this one. I think at 96 points, second most in the league, could have earned a victory this week until your guys just fucking drill a hole right in my asshole. There was already a hole in there, and now you just made it even bigger. My asshole was nice and tight, and then you just fucking blew it wide open. Not good, Gabo. And now let's sort of dig a little deeper. So if if his team is Reservoir Dogs, no big stars, your team is Pulp Fiction. You've got all the stars. Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Uma Thurman, John Travolta, and last but not least, Christopher Walken. Oh my God. I stuck this gold watch up my ass for 2 years. This team has so many stars all over the place. Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski, Leonard Fournette. I mean, the list just doesn't stop. And all of those guys answered the bell. Up until this point, you've been sort of the big mystery of the league. Why is this guy not just going off every week with the roster he has? Well, this week, it finally happened for you. And to make matters worse, Ravens D just completely blew the top off their expectations. When was the last time you saw the same team score 2 return touchdowns in the same game? Just when we thought the return game was dead, this Ravens team just freaking crushed me. I mean, everything that could go right did go right. You had 3 guys, one of whom was your kicker, that got less than 10 points. Everyone else just had big numbers across the board. Gabo, big props to you. You're the top scorer in this league. I could put you number 1 at 3-3, even though you have far from the best record. But it has always been my policy that the number 1 team retains that spot as long as they keep winning ball games. So that's why I had to put you at number 2. But obviously, big potential for you to move up. Clearly, I think a lot of people, if you asked who the favorite was to win this league, you would be that guy at the top of the list. But you're here at number 2 in these power rankings. And using process of elimination, I think we can determine who the number 1 team in this league is. All right, guys, it is the moment you've all been waiting for. The number 1 team in our power rankings this week. Another week at the top for Nate Solly and the television-inspired Team Brady Bunch, guys. And speaking of inspired, this team has performed very well this year. It's very powerful, and it reminds me a lot of this Gold Standard Whey protein powder. Powerful, clean, no bullshit, just good, solid, hardcore awesomeness. All right? And it comes in multiple flavors. Just like the flavor of running back, speaking of which, it's been the issue for your team all year. Every single time I make a power rankings video, I say, this team is great, but where are the running backs? This week, trend reversal. Adrian Peterson gets traded, and Mark Ingram just freaking explodes. stock rising. What is this, Microsoft in the 90s? Big time gains happening all over the place. And then Carlos Hyde, guys. All this controversy. Matt Breida's taking over. Carlos Hyde's done. And then what does he do? He puts up 18 points. Leads a very near comeback for the 49ers this week against the Redskins. And without these two big performances, you would have suffered a very embarrassing loss to Sean Bates. I will give you a pass this week because you had to play some kind of garbage guys because of A.J. Green's bye week. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a pass on only scoring 80 points. Seahawks D will also be coming back, and they have actually done very, very well this year. I think Brady's going to do better. You know, kind of had a what the hell is going on type of week this week against New York. Obviously, Brady still the number one guy. Now even more so with Aaron Rodgers gone. Really not a lot of competition for him at the top. So I like the direction of this team. I will always honor the reigning number one team if they continue to win. But keep in mind that if you fuck up, I will not hesitate to pull you straight out of that number one spot and put Gabo up there if he keeps winning, which I think is going to continue to happen, judging by what he did to me this week. I hope whoever is his next matchup is ready for a big-time ass blasting, a pile of steaming manure right on the face. That is what we are really expecting from Gabo's club now. But Nate, you are the number one team. Congratulations. This is pretty much going to do it for the power rankings. Obviously, I think the work speaks for itself. Big-time things happening. The power rankings have shifted. The power rankings of people who do the power rankings, clearly I am at the top. And even though my actual fantasy team is doing terrible, I still take pride in making these videos. Also, minor side note, I did not get any money for promoting any of the products in this video. So if you would like to reward me with your own money for promoting these amazing products, please do not hesitate. I would always love to have more money in addition to the money the government pays me. So just keep that in mind. And that is going to do it for these power rankings, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure that you did. Obviously awesome. And look forward to more of these kind of epic videos every single week, guys. Peace out.